Hi, it's Alaska Granny. As you can see, my kitchen is cluttered with food. I'm going to put together some pantry recipes, some shelf meals, and I thought I would show you how I assemble foods together so that I know that I have a meal set aside together in my pantry. Sometimes we want to just reach in, pull out something. We don't want to sort through all of our stockpile trying to figure out what to make for dinner. Let me show you some of the ways that I store food for long term and how I assemble meals together so that I have shelf meals, pull it out, make a meal within a matter of minutes. Fortunately, nearly all of the foods that I chose for these pantry shelf meals were dated for December 2024. So I figure I have a minimum of 3, 4, 5 years in these canned foods. You always still want to check on them when they're approaching their expiration date. Many canned and packaged foods can last longer, but you need to keep your eye on them. The first Prepper Pantry shelf meal is a version of Hoppin' John. It's an easy Hoppin' John. Hoppin' John is usually onions, bacon grease, black-eyed peas, ham, and cayenne pepper. So this bag has a can of black-eyed peas, a can of smoked ham, a cup of rice, and I've added a can of hominy to give it a little different texture and flavor. According to what your tastes are, you can season it with minced onion and sprinkle in some cayenne pepper. But I'm not putting the seasonings in the bag. They don't need to be in the bag. They're easy enough to grab off of your spice rack when you're making this meal. You could store the rice in a Ziploc bag. I like to store it in a little canning jar because it keeps it fresh and then critters can't get in there and gnaw on the rice. Combine your ingredients in the bag and then put the directions on a piece of paper and slide it into the bag. You don't need to write on the bag because then you can reuse the bag after you've served this meal. Close up the bag, but you don't need to worry about how airtight it is because the foods are already sealed to last in your pantry. I'm making 3 sets of each meal to set aside in my pantry, and I could eat it once a week. Then I have enough food to serve this meal once a week for 3 weeks. The next meal includes pasta. So I bought 1 box of pasta and then I divided it up 2 cups each into 3 pint-sized canning jars. And now the pasta is sealed up to be airtight and will last. Here's an easy recipe for pasta Fajul, which is a nice Italian soup. Begin with 4 cups of chicken bouillon. So you need 4 cups of water and either the proper amount of powder or chicken bouillon cubes. You won't put the water away with this meal. It's just to demonstrate that you need to remember that you're going to need water with this one. Then I take 1 big can of pasta sauce, 1 can of diced tomatoes, 1 can of black beans, 1 can of kidney beans, 1 can of cannellini beans, and a small can of carrots. The big can is just too many carrots for my family. If you want to use a large can, go ahead. Then it has 2 cups of dried pasta. So you're going to add it all together except the pasta and cook it for about 15 minutes. Then you add the pasta and you continue cooking it for 9 to 12 more minutes depending on your pasta until your pasta is done. I have these little tiny jars that I use for the spice packet, and so I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of the chicken powder, 1 teaspoon each of oregano, pepper, parsley flakes, chopped garlic, and minced onion. If you have garlic powder, onion powder, just use the same measurement. Use what spices you have to make this work for you. This meal is too big to fit in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, so when I was in the lower 48, I picked up some giant jumbo-sized bags at the Dollar Tree. They came in a box of 5, and they're definitely a great size, 2.5 gallon. If you have a large family or a larger recipe, look for the 2.5 gallon Ziploc bags. You can see it all fit nicely in the oversized bag, including the pasta and the spice mix. I can add the direction, zip it up, and set it aside in the pantry. I'm also going to make 3 of the pasta Fajul Prepper Pantry shelf meals. The next Prepper Pantry shelf meal is called ranch chili. Sometimes it's nice to just have the spice and seasoning packets already prepared from the store. So this recipe for ranch chili requires 2 of those packages. So ranch chili includes a ranch dip mix, a taco seasoning mix, a can of diced tomatoes, a can of black beans, a can of kidney beans, a can of pinto beans, and 1 can of chicken. Combine all of the ingredients, heat it through, and you can serve it with sour cream, with cheese. You can roll it up into tortillas. You can scoop it as a dip with Fritos, serve it over rice. Think of all the ways that you normally serve chili, and that's the way that you can serve ranch chili. Ranch chili is the type of meal that you could use just about any type of meat that you have on hand. You could use a can of chicken, a can of turkey, a can of roast beef, or even a can of pulled pork. Whether you pronounce it pozole or pozole, you are going to love the simple stew type recipe from Mexico. You need a can of pinto beans, a can of hominy, a can of fire roasted salsa style tomatoes, and a can of pulled pork. Then you can season it as you wish with chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, but I just would add that when you get around to preparing it. I wouldn't go measuring those out now because you probably want to use fresh spices when you're actually preparing it. If you can't find the spicy salsa style tomatoes, use a can of regular diced tomatoes and add in a few spoonfuls of chunky salsa. If you can't find the pulled pork, try it with roast beef. You could serve it with rice or tortillas or whatever you have on hand that could make this meal fit your tastes and flavors. I have this big bin that I bought. I'm going to put these meals away and store them in an out-of-the-way place. I figure they'll last for 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, depending on how well the ingredients store. You need to be checking on things like tomatoes. When foods like tomatoes go past their best by date, they can tend to leak, and the other ingredients usually will last fine. But always be checking on your stored food to make sure that everything still looks good. There's still room in the box, so I'm going to add a package of egg noodles, a package of Cheerios, and a jar of Nido Fortificata powdered milk. I always like to add a bag of paper plates with extra napkins, Orphan silverware, and a P38 and a P51 can opener. They're the little military can openers. Then you have emergency can openers if you need them. Anytime you can add a few rolls of toilet paper in with your food storage, stick them in. You know what goes in must come out. You know that you're going to need this item no matter what your day brings. My bin is full. I have 4 bags of food that I can make 1 night a week for 3 weeks, and one of them is a big meal, so I would have 15 dinners in here, and likely there would be leftovers, there would be lunch, or you could stretch it for longer. So the way I see it, there's at least 3 weeks worth of dinners in this bin, along with cereal, milk, noodles, some plates, napkins, and silverware, and of course, toilet paper. Add a few plastic garbage bags if this is a bin that you want to put away for your family. The bin is closed. It doesn't matter if it's airtight because everything in it is already sealed up to last for a long, long time. Make sure you're adding a stockpile of water to go with the food that you're storing. Getting the foods that you need, you're setting extra aside in your pantry, and that you're working through your pantry, using up those foods so that you're still making meals for your family no matter what the day brings. Food is still available, so stock up and then store it so that it'll last as long as possible. If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might like it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.